Have you ever dared to question religious beliefs? You might have encountered a peculiar response. Instead of engaging with your thoughts, some people default to a curious question: who hurt you? Or why are you so angry? It's as if rejecting faith automatically equates to harboring deep-seated emotional trauma. But is that really the case? This seemingly innocent question is often a smokescreen. It's a tactic employed to quickly dismiss any arguments you might have against their beliefs. This video will delve into this dismissive tactic. We'll expose how the phrase "who hurt you" is a form of gaslighting. "Who hurt you" is inherently dismissive. It's a conversation stopper disguised as genuine concern. This question immediately shifts the focus away from the actual topic, the validity of religious claims, and redirects it towards your supposed emotional baggage. Instead of addressing the points you raise, the person throws out this loaded question. They imply that your atheism isn't a well-thought-out position, but rather a symptom of some unresolved trauma. This tactic is not only intellectually dishonest but also incredibly frustrating. Who hurt you? Tactic is a form of gaslighting. Gaslighting is a manipulative technique used to make someone question their own sanity and judgment. In this context, it frames the atheist as emotionally damaged rather than engaging with their arguments. It allows them to avoid confronting the potentially uncomfortable truths that your arguments might present. By deflecting the conversation to your supposed emotional state, they effectively silence your dissent. This effectively shuts down any chance of a productive conversation. To understand why some people resort to the "who hurt you" tactic, we need to look at the roots of this behavior. Often it stems from deeply ingrained beliefs about faith and reason. Many theists are raised with the idea that faith is self-evident, a matter of the heart that transcends logic and reason. Within these belief systems, questioning faith is often seen as inherently wrong or even dangerous. When someone from this background encounters an atheist who confidently articulates their reasons for disbelief, it challenges their entire worldview. Instead of recognizing atheism as a legitimate philosophical stance, they perceive it as a personal attack on their beliefs. Another reason behind the "who hurt you" tactic is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort we experience when we hold two or more conflicting beliefs, ideas, or values. When confronted with arguments that challenge their deeply held religious beliefs, some theists experience cognitive dissonance. Instead of confronting this internal conflict and potentially questioning their beliefs, they resort to a defense mechanism. By attributing the atheist's disbelief to emotional damage, they can maintain their own beliefs without having to grapple with the uncomfortable possibility that they might be wrong. This allows them to preserve their sense of self and their place within their religious community. The "who hurt you" tactic can also stem from a fear of deconstruction. For some, the realization that one person can leave their faith based on reason and critical thinking can be deeply unsettling. If one person's faith can be deconstructed by logic and reason, what's to stop others from questioning their beliefs as well? By painting atheists as emotionally damaged, they create a buffer zone around their own beliefs. They reassure themselves and others that their faith is secure, that it's something you can only abandon if you've been deeply hurt or wounded. This fear of deconstruction can lead to a siege mentality, where any criticism of religion is perceived as a threat. The "who hurt you" gaslighting tactic often reveals a deeper insecurity within those who use it. It exposes a fear that their faith, often portrayed as a pillar of strength, might actually be quite fragile. If logical reasoning can lead someone away from their beliefs, it implies that those beliefs might not be as inherently sound as they'd like to believe. Consider this: if faith were truly as self-evident and unshakable as some claim, why would reasoned arguments pose such a threat? This isn't to say that everyone with religious faith is insecure. However, those who cling to the "who hurt you" tactic often reveal a defensiveness stemming from the possibility that their worldview might not hold up under scrutiny. This manipulation tactic isn't just about deflecting arguments, it's also about maintaining power. By positioning the atheist as emotionally compromised, they attempt to seize the moral high ground. They imply that their position is one of compassion and understanding, while the atheist is driven by negativity and pain. This power dynamic is often reinforced by societal structures that privilege religious belief. In many cultures, religion is deeply intertwined with social norms, political power, and even personal identity. The "who hurt you" tactic serves to reinforce these power structures by discrediting those who dare to challenge them. This dismissal is particularly harmful because it silences dissent and prevents open dialogue. At the heart of this manipulation tactic lies a fundamental discomfort with differing viewpoints. This discomfort often manifests as a deep-seated need to protect one's own beliefs from scrutiny. The possibility that someone could arrive at a different conclusion about the existence of a deity, the nature of morality, or the meaning of life, without having experienced some sort of trauma, is simply inconceivable to them. This mindset creates a barrier to understanding and empathy. This inability to comprehend a different perspective often stems from a lifetime of living in an echo chamber, where only similar views are reinforced. When confronted with an opposing viewpoint, the immediate reaction is to find a way to invalidate it. This reaction is a defense mechanism to protect one's own worldview. And what easier way to do so than to attribute it to some personal failing or emotional instability? This tactic shifts the focus away from the argument itself. By assuming that someone's atheism must stem from pain, they avoid confronting the possibility that their own beliefs might not be the only valid way to view the world. This avoidance helps them maintain their sense of certainty. In doing so, they miss out on the richness that comes from engaging with diverse perspectives and the growth that can come from questioning one's own assumptions. It's a dangerous tool that can have a chilling effect on free speech and critical thinking. When people are afraid to voice their doubts or criticisms for fear of being labeled as damaged or bitter, it creates an environment where harmful ideas can flourish unchecked. Imagine a society where questioning the government, challenging scientific dogma, or even expressing artistic dissent was met with accusations of personal baggage. Progress stagnates when diverse perspectives are silenced. Religion, like any institution, should be open to scrutiny and debate. When we allow the "who hurt you" tactic to shut down conversations about religion, we do a disservice to ourselves and future generations. One of the most frustrating aspects of the "who hurt you" tactic is how it unfairly shifts the burden of proof. Instead of providing evidence for their own beliefs, the person using this tactic demands that the atheist justify their lack of belief, not by addressing logic or evidence, but by dissecting their emotional state. This is a classic diversion tactic. The burden of proof should always lie with the person making the claim, not the person questioning it. When someone says, "You're just angry at God," they're not engaging in a good faith discussion. They're attempting to invalidate your experiences and silence your doubts without addressing the underlying issues. The burden of proof lies with those making the claims. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of the "who hurt you" tactic is how it trivializes the very real pain of religious trauma. Many people have experienced genuine harm within religious institutions, from spiritual abuse and exploitation to discrimination and violence. To dismiss their valid criticisms and experiences as merely the result of being hurt is not only insensitive, but also deeply dismissive. It invalidates their trauma and perpetuates the cycle of abuse by silencing those who speak out. Religious trauma is a real phenomenon with lasting psychological and emotional consequences. To suggest that someone's rejection of religion is solely due to some past hurt ignores the complex and often painful realities of their experiences. So, how do you respond when someone hits you with the inevitable "who hurt you"? The first step is to recognize it for what it is, a blatant attempt to derail the conversation and discredit your perspective. Don't let them get away with it. It's time to call out the gaslighting. You can directly address the tactic. Say something like, "That's an interesting assumption. Are you suggesting that anyone who disagrees with you must be emotionally compromised?" This puts them on the defensive and forces them to justify their dismissive approach. Another effective strategy is to calmly and assertively state, "My position is based on reason and evidence, not emotional baggage. I'm happy to discuss the merits of my arguments if you're willing to engage with them respectfully." Once you've exposed this manipulation tactic for what it is, you can start to shift the focus back to the actual topic at hand, the validity of their religious claims. One way to do this is to turn the question around on them. Ask something like, "Why do you assume that disagreement stems from emotional pain? Couldn't it be that I've simply arrived at a different conclusion based on the available evidence and my own critical thinking?" This challenges their assumptions and forces them to consider alternative explanations for your atheism. You can also try redirecting the conversation by saying, "This isn't about me or my supposed emotional state. It's about the claim that inserts specific religious claim here. What evidence do you have to support this claim?" Ultimately, the most effective way to counter this manipulation tactic is to refuse to let it derail the conversation. Don't allow yourself to be pulled into a defensive posture where you're forced to justify your emotional state. Instead, steer the conversation back to facts, logic, and critical thinking. If they make a specific claim about their religion, ask for evidence. If they cite a religious text, discuss its historical context and potential interpretations. By refusing to engage in emotional arguments and consistently redirecting the conversation back to reason, you reclaim the narrative. The who hurt you tactic is a symptom of a larger problem, the suppression of intellectual freedom, especially when it comes to challenging deeply ingrained beliefs. This tactic often discourages people from questioning the status quo, stifling innovation and progress. To create a more just and equitable society, we need to foster a culture of critical thinking, open dialogue, and mutual respect, even when faced with differing viewpoints. This starts with education, where young minds are encouraged to explore, question, and understand the world around them. We need to equip people with the tools to critically evaluate information, identify logical fallacies, and engage in respectful debate. This means teaching skills that go beyond rote memorization, focusing instead on analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Critical thinking shouldn't be seen as a threat, but as an essential skill for navigating the complexities of the world. It empowers individuals to make informed decisions and fosters a society that values reason and evidence over dogma and misinformation. Beyond education, we need to create spaces where people feel safe to express their doubts and explore different perspectives without fear of judgment or reprisal. These safe spaces are crucial for personal growth and societal progress. This includes challenging dogma within religious institutions, where questioning and doubt are often discouraged, promoting interfaith dialogue that goes beyond superficial niceties, encouraging deep, meaningful conversations that bridge gaps and foster understanding, and supporting those who have been harmed by religious abuse, providing them with the resources and community they need to heal and rebuild their lives. Remember, intellectual freedom thrives in an environment where questions are welcomed, not silenced. Encouraging curiosity and open-mindedness is key to a vibrant, dynamic society. It's time to break the cycle of dismissive rhetoric and create a world where reason, empathy, and critical thinking can flourish. Together, we can build a future where intellectual freedom is not just a privilege for the few, but a right for all. The next time someone throws out the who hurt you? Question, recognize it for what it is: a desperate attempt to shut down a conversation they're afraid to have. It's a defense mechanism, a way to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths or challenging their own deeply held beliefs. Don't let them off the hook. Stand your ground and maintain your composure. Challenge their assumptions, expose their tactics, and stand firm in your commitment to reason and critical thinking. Engage with their arguments thoughtfully and respectfully, but don't be afraid to point out logical fallacies or inconsistencies. But remember, while it's important to call out bad behavior, it's equally important to approach these conversations with empathy. Understand that behind every defensive reaction is often a person who feels threatened or insecure. Many people who resort to these tactics are simply afraid. They fear the unknown, the possibility that their worldview might be flawed, or that they might have to change their way of thinking. They've been taught to fear doubt, to equate questioning with weakness, and to view those who leave their faith as somehow broken. This fear is deeply ingrained and can be difficult to overcome. While you shouldn't shy away from challenging their ideas, try to do so in a way that doesn't belittle their experiences or dismiss their humanity. Show them that questioning is a sign of strength, not weakness. Sometimes the most powerful way to change someone's mind is not through argument, but through genuine human connection. Share your own experiences and listen to theirs. So, embrace reason, embrace dialogue, and never be afraid to ask why. Keep the conversation going and be patient. But do so with the understanding that behind every question, there's a human being grappling with their own set of beliefs, experiences, and fears. Approach each dialogue with compassion and an open mind. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Freethinker's Journey.